Now that we have understood what is the importance of nonce in a Braintree transaction, before we pass that nonce to the server, here we need to create what is the authorization or gateway. So for that we need a client token. So how do we get that client token? We will be getting that inside the card controller. We have the summary get action method. So inside our summary get action method, we will be creating token only if the user is admin user. So right here, we will create that token. In order to create token, we need the Braintree gateway. We have already added that to our dependency injection container, so we can fetch that and use that. So here we'll have private read only Braintree gate, and we'll call this _brain. We'll get that using dependency injection, and we'll say _brain is equal to brain. Then if we scroll down, here we have to use the gateway. So we'll create variable of gateway and we'll call _brain dot. We have to call the get gateway because in that, if the gateway does not exist, we are creating that. Then we need to get a client token. So we'll say client token, we'll use our gateway dot, we have the client token method on there, dot, we have the client token, and on there we have the generate method. These are methods inside the Braintree gateway provided by the Braintree team. Once we get the client token, we can save that in view bag. Now this is one of the instances where you typically need a use of view bag. As you know that I am mostly against using a view bag and view token, and I prefer a tightly bound view. But since this token is something that is only applicable in certain scenario and we only need for this particular page, I prefer using view bag here. So we'll add that in our view bag and then we'll proceed normally. So then inside the view, when we need the client authorization token, it will exist inside the view bag, so we can use that. I'll copy the view bag name to avoid the spelling mistake. Then in here, we need to retrieve that from the view bag. So we'll say variable client _token is equal to @. This will be inside the double quotes, and we'll have it inside view bag dot. We will paste the name, which is client token. We just need it once, there we go. So with that, client token will be available right here, and in authorization, we can pass the client token. Great, it's coming along good. Next thing that we have is we need to pass the nonce to our form. We have prevented the default behavior of posting. So here we can add it inside document.querySelector, and let me select nonce here. We'll set the value of that to payload.nonce. You can see it directly says here that submit payload.nonce to your server. So we are retrieving that and we're passing that for our server. Once we do that, then we can do form.submit to actually submit the form. Alright, so that was quite a few JavaScript that we added. We also need to add some HTML. If we go back, here we can see that inside the developer where we copied the code, there was a div as well as a button. We replaced that button with form. But let me copy this, and we need the container, which is drop-in container, which you can see right here. So let me just copy this container name. We'll switch back, and we need to add that in our page. Now we will be adding that only for admin user. Let me add that after the div outside of this UL. So right here we have the div, and we will add the if condition. We'll say if user dot is in role, if user is wc.admin, only then we want the transaction. So here we'll add a div, give it a class of column 12, and we'll give it a div class of wrapper. In here we will add a div, give it a class of checkout container. In here we will paste the div which is drop-in container, and then we will add an input element, give it an ID of nonce, and we'll give it a name of payment method nonce. This has to be the exact name. If this does not match, then we will face issue when we retrieve the token. So here we add the ID of nonce with an input element hidden, and what we are doing in JavaScript is we are retrieving that and we are adding the nonce so that we can retrieve that inside the post action method. Once you make this change, let's run our application and see how things look. We did quite a few changes in order to get Braintree in our project, but everything is coming along now, and I will explain you once again on what we did. Let me add items to the cart, and then let me log in as an admin user. We'll go to our cart, continue. And great, you can see the payment credit card is coming up right here. If you try any fake numbers here, it won't work. You can see card number is not valid. So let's verify all of this and continue in the next video.